With the continuous buffs to Dragonmancer and Kai'Sa, everyone's been focused on Kai'Sa lately, leaving Volibear to go completely unnoticed despite being a major powerhouse in the meta. If you're looking to run an uncontested comp to get first place, then you've come to the right place. I'm Swagadelic, and today we're going over Volibear carry. In the early game, these are the units you're looking for. Set works best as an early carry, so you can slot in Dragonmancer 2 with Karma. For your frontline, Nasus plus Guardian works best, as you'll look to play Shimmer Scale later. For this reason, you can also play Jax plus a Bruiser if you happen to find that instead. The main thing here is to play for a Ginsu's carry, since that's the first item you want to slam if possible. If you can't find Set, then Yone, Wukong, and Ezreal all work until you can find Set or Volibear. Just swap Karma for a matching trait unit accordingly. Now at level 7, this is roughly how your board should look. This is where you'll spend a lot of time slow rolling for Volibear 3-star. If you happen to high roll Lee Sin or Kai'Sa, they make excellent secondary carries. This board is fairly expensive. An early econ augment goes a long way if you can't hot streak. Whether you want to lean heavily into Shimmer Scale will depend on the early Shimmer items you get. Gambler's Blade, Goldmancer's Staff, and Needlessly Large Gem as well as Mogul's Mill are all solid choices here. They help to stack early gold and provide solid stats to match. Determined Investor is a little weak, but it's still playable since you can hit Diamond Hands really early. The main Shimmer item you want to stay away from early is Draven's Axe. None of the Dragonmancers benefit from AD, so the item is completely useless in terms of raw stats. If you find an early Zoe, then you should replace Jax until you can level up, and if you find an early Itis, then swap him in for both Rakan and Jax. Now in the late game, I'll show you two variations of a late game board. This first variation is played when you decide to lean into Shimmer Scale, and you remain at Dragonmancer 4 and play Zoe. At this point, you should swap Karma or Set for Yasuo, who also makes use of Dragon's Axe if you get it later in the game. Now if you don't love the early Shimmer items, then by level 9, you should be looking to play this instead as the late game board. Here, you still have Shimmer 5, but instead opt into Dragonmancer 6, choosing to keep Set and Karma over Zoe and Jax. You still play Yasuo here, and it is possible to drop Itis for Terra if the Shimmer items are really that bad, but I typically find use for them, so I tend to lean towards Itis. The rest of the game will be decided by item choices, augments, and positioning, so let's cover that now. Starting with carry items, you want to use Set and transition into Volibear. However, if you cannot find Set, then there are several other options to use. At tier 2, we have Wukong and Yone, and at the bottom, tier 3, the weakest choices, we have Ezreal and Nidalee. Your items to play will be Ginsu's, followed by QSS, which are both mandatory and recommended to make first, and then combined with the third item, Bloodthirster. Hand of Justice and Gunblade are workable substitutes for Bloodthirster. Now for tank items, you should be looking to build on Leona or any early Guardian you may hit, then transition to Itis. Any Guardian will do here. If possible, avoid building on Nasus, as you will then need to remake the unit once you do find Itis. For tank items, Sunfire, Warmogs, Protector's Vow, and either Dragon's Claw or Bramble Vest are all solid options. If possible, avoid slamming Stoneplate. While it is still playable, if you do need to slam something, there are many units in this front line, so it's not likely you could get max value out of it. Finally, for bonus items, these are super useful. Blue buff on Yasuo and Shojin on Zoe, if you choose to play her, also go a long way. Aura items also provide great value. Zeke's or Chalice to buff Volibear, or additional Redemption and Protector's Vows to buff the frontline melee group. These items should be built last after securing the tank and damage items. Now let's move on to augments. Dragonmancer Conference is super broken right now. With the buffs to Dragonmancers and the trait this patch, even though this augment can only be found on 2-1, if you see it, you should take it immediately, because even if you're contested, you can still hit 3-star Dragonmancers throughout the game. Now moving on to Cybernetics. Cybernetic Shell, however, provides great durability when you have a lot of items, and Cybernetic Uplink is still pretty useful despite the fact that Volibear doesn't really need it. It does provide extra damage in the form of other units' spells, however, like Lee Sin, Kai'Sa, or Karma. As always, Celestial Blessing is a powerful choice here. If you get the prismatic version, you might want to consider dropping Bloodthirster. Now Thrill of the Hunt is usually a B tier choice, since it falls off in the late game. However, with Volibear, because you can end up reaching the backline with his lightning chains, you can get double and triple kills pretty quickly, meaning you get big burst heals. Heroic Presence is actually really strong here, because it allows you to put Volibear in the front line and have your Guardians taunt enemies off of him. This is actually a great choice to keep Volibear healthy and safe. Pay to Win is a super powerful choice if you lean heavily into Shimmer Scale. If you play this, Volibear has to hold a Shimmer Scale item. I recommend dropping Bloodthirster and hoping to play for a healing augment if you hit this. Ascension is a solid choice here. Since Guardians tend to last long in fights, you typically have a lot of units up when the buff activates. First Aid Kit is a great choice for durability. It synergizes really well with the Guardian trait and works off of Idas ult and Bloodthirster. Eye of the Storm gives you a huge damage boost to Volibear at the expense of putting him in a dangerous spot. It works really well with Heroic Presence to taunt enemies away from Volibear. You can also build a ZZ Rot and place it next to Volibear for a similar effect. Jeweled Lotus is a great damage augment here. All of your units benefit from this and allows Volibear to crit without needing special items. Battle Mage is also one of those S tier choices. It provides huge value by giving armor to all of your frontline, and all of your units benefit from the AP value. Hero in Training is half decent. It's good if you can itemize a second carry, but if you can't, then you should take other options. Now for Econ augments, Windfall is only useful on 4-2. You use this to finish rolling down for your units so that you can get your 3 stars. If you already have most or all of your units, there's no reason to take this. Rich Get Richer is a solid choice on 2-1, allowing you to stack gold to prepare for your level 7 roll down. Keep in mind, you want to get max value by maintaining 7 interest gold. That's going to be difficult to do that and win, which means you'll need to prepare yourself to lose streak to maintain the interest. Now let's move on to positioning. Offensively, the only thing you have to worry about is Lee Sin. As always, you want to have Lee Sin kick the main tanks into the enemy backline. So position Lee on the opposite side of the enemy carries while facing the tank. This way, he'll push the main tank into the backline for chain damage. Now defensively, there's only a couple things you need to look out for. The first one being a Soy Fen comp, that's Shioyu and Saifen. What you need to do here is have Volibear on the same side as Saifen. This way, even though the battle starts and they'll be hitting each other, Saifen will dash away and will not come back to Volibear for a long time. Meanwhile, the lightning that Volibear casts will chain and hit Saifen, probably killing him. Now to avoid Shioyu, make sure Volibear is on the opposite end of him. This way, the lightning can chain and kill Shioyu before he can get to Volibear. This is usually easy to do since Soy Fen players will put Shioyu and Saifen on opposite ends of the board. This way, if you put Volibear in front of Saifen, it'll always work out for you. If this guide helped you, then leave a like and tell me in the comments what you think of the build. Until next time, I'm Swagadelic.